Perfect fit closets. How to use panels. Today we'll be talking about our P&L panel lefts, our wall panels lefts, and so forth. I have my local browser on my bottom left-hand side. I've got the Perfect Fit Canada Canadian catalog. We have two catalogs, the American and Canadian catalog, and this is going to be using the Canadian catalog. In our catalog, we're going to double-click our categories, double-click our parts. In our parts, we have 5 subsections. We're going to choose our panels subsection, double-click. And in this section, we have our P&L, as well as our WP&L, just like here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and these situated are tall panels. These ones are situated with WP&L with our wall panels. So this has got a notch at the very back, and this has got no notch. To illustrate, I'm going to choose my actual dealer portal. And in our dealer portal, we have our panels and wall panels that you can certainly take a quick peek at. With our P&L, if I left-click our P&L panel on the left, we can see on the illustration on the top left-hand side in the information section that we have line boring holes on the right side of the panel, but a clean face on the left side. So P&L means panel on the left, clean face on one side, and line boring holes on the other. These are great for end panels. If we drag and drop, panel left, drag. As soon as I see my magnet, I'm going to go to my farthest left and let go of my mouse and drop. By default, if we take a quick peek, I can right-click, left-click on attributes, and when the dialog box appears, we can certainly change the attributes. I'm going to right-click the illustration, and this is panel on the left, meaning that I have got a clean face on the left-hand side. If I left-click on my variables tab, I have it at 14 inches deep. We can go as short as 8 inches depth, or we can go to a depth of 30 inches, like so. For our heights, we can go to a minimum of 12 1/8. So that's the minimum. We can't go any further. And we can go as high as 107 7/8. I'll try clicking up a little bit higher, and you can see that we cannot click it any higher than 107 7/8. So that's going to be my tallest panel, as indicated like such. Let's try a panel on the right this time. Left-click panel right, P&L-R, drag it into my elevation. I see my magnet, go to my farthest working left and let go. And again, same concept, but if we take a look at our perspective view, and in our perspective view, we can see 2 different panels that we have. The defaulted panel at 14 inches deep. We'll let that finish rendering here. And we can see that for our right panel, we have got a clean face on the right side, but we have line boring holes on the inside. Same thing with the left. Left panel, line boring holes on the inside, but a clean face on the outside. We can do the same thing again. For a panel fully drilled, we can drag it. I see my magnet, let go of my mouse. And this one's going to be full drilled, and this is also going to be a panel no drill. Let's take a look at our wall panels. The wall panels are exactly the same, except these have a notch at the very back end. If we drag and drop a panel on the left, drag and drop, again, we can certainly change the dimensions. And let's take a look at the properties for our wall panels. I'm going to right-click our wall panel, panel on the left, go into my attributes. And let's take a look at the attribute properties and the maximum and minimum sizes. So against panel on the left, we can go down to our variables. Now for our limitations for our depth, we click on the up button, we can click on for 15 inches deep. 16 inches deep, and that's as far as you can go for an actual wall panel. 16 inches deep is the maximum depth size. For our heights, let's click on the up button and let's see how high that we can go. So we keep going, and the maximum size for a wall panel is 83 and 15/16. And the reason for this limitation is that we don't want too much weight, especially for wall panels, because wall panels are situated off the ground. So all the weight is going to be situated on the hanging rail system. We'll click on OK. And we can see our 83 and 15/16 wall panel height. We can do the same thing again for our panel on the right, panel fully drilled, and panel no drill. The question that people get asked a lot is, when would we use these panels? If I say, for example, if I had a tall module and I dragged it in, I see my magnet, let go of my mouse. New dialog box appears. I'm going to right-click the illustration. And let's say that I wanted this to be no drilled. So if both sections are not drilled, I need to have some line boring holes so that my installer can use this as a stencil, because right now my installer doesn't know where to actually put these holes through. What we can do is we can have this no drilled, so no panel, nothing is drilled whatsoever. But now what we can do is we can drag and drop, going into our categories, parts, panels, and now I can do a panel full drilled. Drag it in, drop, and now I've got a fully drilled panel, so now my installer can actually use this panel as a stencil so they know exactly where the hole spacing is going to be. So that's one of the situations that you could use an extra panel. Panels are strictly for parts. You could theoretically build a module using 2 panels. However, it's always best to go into our categories, modules, and use our stackable wall module or tall module, tall corner, and so forth. So it's a lot easier to use the actual modules. Therefore, you don't have to resize the actual parts. But in an instance, this is just for part building, or if you have a vision in terms of you just needed parts and you're going to create your own type of system for a media room or mud room, absolutely, you can certainly use parts. Once again, we talked about our panels, talking about our panel left, right, full drilled, which is the one that people are going to use the most, or the wall panel that are completely fully drilled. We've got our no drills, left drills, right drills, no drills. So again, we just wanted to create parts in our 2020 catalog so that you can choose what you'd like to do with it. If you have any questions, please do connect with us at support@perfectfitcanada.com.